إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيبنا محمد رسول الله عليه وسلم صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأحبابه وأتباعه وعلى كل من اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته واقتفى أثره إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فسبحانك اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد. My expected brothers in Islam, we commence by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the master of the heavens and the earth, the creator of the heavens and earth and all that they contain, master of the day of Qiyamah. It is from him alone we seek help, from him alone we seek guidance and protection. For whosoever Allah Azza wa Jalla guides, no one can lead them astray. And whosoever Allah leaves them to go astray, no one can guide them. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to continue placing us on the path of guidance and righteousness. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue sending His choicest blessings upon the masterpiece Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and upon his noble and blessed household and his blessed companions. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to unite us with Rasulullah in Jannah. My respected brothers in Islam, today is Friday, the second day of Dhul Hijjah. It's 1443 years after the migration of Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from Makkah to Medina. And it's also the first day of July 2022. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless goodness and blessings in our lives. As we've heard, today is the second day of Dhul Hijjah. The second day of Dhul Hijjah. And Dhul Hijjah is the 12th month of the Islamic calendar. That is the last month of the year, the Islamic calendar. Before we delve into today's discussion, let me just, push you to think for a moment with me. It is very, very sad, very, very sad for a Muslim not to know the month he's in Islamically. We do everything possible to learn about the matters of the dunya, matters of the world. You'd find a student reading, understanding, memorizing huge volumes of books, be it in the economics, or in the IT field, or in sciences, or in any area, in any field of expertise. You find a student reading because they want to gain knowledge, they want to know. But this very same student, when you ask him very basic questions about the Islamic calendar, you find the young Muslim man wanting. And I've been saying this almost every year, that you never hear someone ask, when is December? When is September? Probably we are in July now. You never hear someone ask, how many months more until December? Do you hear someone ask that question? I never hear that. I don't know, maybe you have been asked. But I always hear people ask, how long until Ramadan? This is very, very sad. Ramadan is the month of the Quran. Ramadan is a period of worship that no matter how evil a Muslim is, they anticipate Ramadan. They hope for Ramadan. They pray for Ramadan. They want to see Ramadan. Yet again, that very same Muslim does not sit down to learn the months of the Islamic calendar so that they will be fully prepared towards the coming of Ramadan. This is very, very sad and very, very dangerous. If you know nothing about the Islamic calendar, but you know virtually everything there is to know about any other calendar, then ask yourself, where lies your priorities? Because the Islamic calendar, in it are periods, are seasons, are times in which Allah Azza wa Jalla has sanctified. Allah has made those periods blessed periods. Periods in which a little act of worship you do, the reward is multiplied by Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's an easy way of attaining the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jalla. An easy way of having your supplications, your dua accepted. Because there are times that are special in the sight of Allah. And Allah says, if you are able to grasp or grab that opportunity and worship Him and make dua in those times, Allah has guaranteed you acceptance of dua. Those times come and pass and leave us, and the Muslim does not even know. And you know what is sad? This ummah, as said by Prophet ﷺ, our lifespan is from 60 to 70. Very few cross that range. 50, 60, 70, 80. Very few cross that limit. Now let me ask you a mind-boggling question. I ask myself before asking you. The minimum number of years we are going to lie down in our graves is 500 years. The minimum you are going to lie in your grave before the day of Qiyamah is 500 years. That is number one. Number two, on the day of Qiyamah, standing on the place of Qiyamah on the field before Allah Azza wa Jalla starts Hisab, starts judgment, is 50,000 years, as said by Allah in the Quran. So I just want you to imagine, think about these numbers for a moment with me. 50,000 years you are standing on the field of Qiyamah, waiting for Allah Azza wa Jalla to begin judgment. Now tell me, your 60, 70, 80 years that you've lived, the deeds, the actions, the good deeds that you've committed, that you've done, you've gathered, in the 80 years you've lived, will it be enough to suffice you sleeping 500 years in your grave? Will it be enough provisions for you to stand in the court of Allah for 50,000 years? Think about it. Even if you are supposed to live for 1,000 years, and the entire 1,000 years is spent in sujood, is spent in the masjid, is spent fasting and qiyamul layl, is spent giving out zakat, is spent in hajj, is the 1,000 years enough to help you gather deeds that would suffice the standing in the presence of Allah Azza wa Jalla before judgment, that 50,000 years? Let me ask myself this question, and ask yourself that question. But Allah Azza wa Jalla, being so kind, being so merciful, every once in a while, every now and then, Allah opens doors of goodness and opportunities for us. So that if a person is fortunate and Allah Azza wa Jalla has blessed the person, or has blessed the person, and then the person commits or performs a single act of worship in that season, Allah multiplies that good deed drastically, so that the person gets enough deeds, enough fuel to help him stand in the presence of Allah Azza wa Jalla on the day of Qiyamah before judgment. But today the Muslim does not know these seasons. So how can you and I catch up? How can you and I struggle and then do something that will at least grant us a beautiful standing in the court of Allah Azza wa Jalla Yawm al-Qiyamah. So I advise to myself first and foremost, and to my respected elders in Islam, and to my brothers and to my sisters, learn Islam. That is the basic you can do. There are certain things that are very, very key in your life as a Muslim. You should know them. This month of Zul-Hijjah, the 12th month of the Islamic calendar, is one of the 4 sacred months in Islam. We have 12 months in the Islamic calendar. From amongst the 12 months, we have 4 months that are sacred. These 4 months are sacred and honored by Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah even made mention of them in the Quran. Surah Tawbah, I believe ayah number 36. Allah says, إِنَّ عِدَّةَ الشُّهُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the number of months in a year since the time Allah Azza wa Jalla created the heavens and the earth are 12 months. From amongst the 12, Allah says 4 of them are sacred. So فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do everything possible not to sin. Do everything possible not to commit a crime. Do everything possible not to find yourself in the black books of Allah Azza wa Jalla in these sacred months. The scholars say as-sayyi'at, sins that are done, evil deeds that are committed in these 4 months, the sin is multiplied. When you sin in any of these 4 months, yes, the sin is there, but it is not as an ordinary sin committed in any other month. Sins committed in these months are multiplied. And you and I do not know that we are in those months. And surprisingly, those months are when you find the young Muslim man, the young Muslim woman committing sins. At least when you are conscious of where you are and that time period you find yourself in, it will help you stay on track. I mean, at least. Yes, you are human, you are fallible, you make mistakes, but every once in a while when it dawns on you that, hey, I'm in Dhul Hijjah, you come back to your senses and then you correct your style. Let me cite a very basic example. And I cited it last year on this very same number. If a thief comes into this mosque, may Allah safeguard us, and steals, he's a thief, right? And he has stolen, and he will be rewarded accordingly. Now imagine a thief going to Mecca, looking at the Kaaba in the Masjid al-Haram, and then they steal there. Let's take it, they all stole the same amount of money. The one who walked into our masjid here stole 10 cedis. The one who went to Masjid al-Haram also stole 10 cedis. You know the person who stole in Masjid al-Haram, the sin will not be a normal sin. Right? Why? Because that place is sacred. It's blessed, it's sanctified. So sins that are committed, evil deeds that are committed at sanctified places are different. In fact, to those people who are embarking upon Hajj, those who are embarking upon Hajj, those who have gone already, and those who are still, those who are still en route, and those who still have intentions to embark on the Hajj, wallahi, when you go to Mecca, Mecca is the only place on the face of the earth that when you think about doing a sin, Allah holds you accountable. Not committing the sin. Just thinking about it. وَمَنْ يُرِدْ فِيهِ بِإِلْحَادٍ بِظُلْمٍ نُذِقْهُ مِنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. Allah says anyone who intends, who wishes to commit any evil deed in Mecca, Allah says نُذِقْهُ مِنْ عَذَابٍ. As Allah says, Allah is going to make him taste a very bitter punishment. Just thinking about sinning in that place. Here you can think about it and Allah Azza wa Jalla will not hold you because you've not placed that thought into practice. But over there, the moment you think about it, because Allah is telling you, you are here in my house, the holiest place on the face of the earth, and you have the guts, you have the audacity to still think about evil deeds. Do you understand the severity of this issue? So if you are a month Allah says it is holy, and you still have the audacity to think about committing a crime and even you committing that crime, it tells us and it tells you and it tells Allah how disrespectful you are. You don't go into someone's house and disrespect them, do you? You don't do that. You don't go into someone's office and you do what they say you're not supposed to do. You never do that. So a Muslim should do everything possible to know these months. What are these months quickly? Abbas tells us, as narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, from Abi Bakrata, not Abu Bakr. This is another companion, Abi Bakrata. This companion said, Abbas explained to them and told them that the months, the second months are four, ثلاث متواليات, 3 come in a row in succession. 3 months in a row are sacred months. Zul-Hijjah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram. That is the previous months, we are in the second, and then the coming month. So 3 months in a row. That is almost 90 days in a row. Now 90 days in a row, you are supposed to be on guard. You are supposed to be on guard. Yes, you are human, you make mistakes, you commit sins, you commit evil deeds, yes, but be on guard. Don't let yourself loose. And then the other month is Rajab. Alhamdulillah, we are in the month of Zul-Hijjah. And today is the second day of Zul-Hijjah. The Prophet said, as narrated by Imam al-Bukhari, from Abdullah ibn Abbas, and Allah Azza wa Jalla be pleased with him. The Prophet says, مَا مِنْ أَيَّامٍ الْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحُ فِيهِ أَحَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ. There are no days in a year that Allah Azza wa Jalla loves, that good deeds should be performed in those days, as He loves for a person to perform good deeds in these 10 days. And today is the second day, we are almost 8 days ahead of us. So this is just the beginning. Today is the second day. So do everything possible to grab this opportunity and then never let it slip by, because you will never know if you will still be alive to see next year. You and I know people who were with us last year. Today we look around and you and I were the very ones who buried them. So it is no surprise next year people would sit and discuss about Zul-Hijjah and they turn around and Abu Bakr has been buried. And you carried me if I should die at home to my final resting place. Since it is no surprise that you might not live to see next year, make good use of this opportunity. Prophet says, good deeds are beloved to Allah Azza wa Jalla done in these days. Then the companions asked, وَلَا الْجِهَادُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Ya Rasulullah, you are talking about good deeds. Allah loves them when they are done in these days. Even jihad fi sabilillah. Rasulullah says, وَلَا الْجِهَادُ فِي سَبِيلِ. Deeds that are done in these days, Allah Azza wa Jalla loves them than jihad performed in days outside these days. Except for a person who lives and embarks upon jihad and then does not return. That is the only good deed that can match one city sadaqah given in these 10 days. A person performing jihad and dying there. That is the only good deed that can match giving one city in this blessed month. And the scholars say, these 10 days, and let's listen, so you wouldn't say it's a slip of tongue. These 10 days are better and beloved in the sight of Allah than the last 10 days of Ramadan. These 10 days are beloved and more precious to Allah than the last 10 days of Ramadan. Has it sunk in very well? But the last 10 nights of Ramadan, the last 10 nights of Ramadan are superior, are better, beloved in the sight of Allah than the first 10 nights of Dhul Hijjah. So it's about day and night. In terms of day, the first 10 days of Zul-Hijjah are And in terms of nights, the last 10 nights of Ramadan are superior to every other night. Do you get the difference now? Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the famous Sheikh, the famous scholar who made an interpretation and explanation of Sahih Bukhari, said, Allah Azza wa Jalla sanctified these days because they contain ummahatul ibadat, very great and powerful deeds and acts of worship that are never found in any other days besides these days. In these 10 days you have the salats that you perform. In these 10 days you have the sadaqah, you have zakat. In these 10 days you have hajj. Any time except these times. In these 10 days you have Yawm Arafah. Yawm Arafah, that is the 9th day of Zul-Hijjah, which will be on the 8th, that is today's week, exactly next week Friday, is the day of Arafah. It is a day the Prophet ﷺ says, fasting on that day of Arafah, he hopes and prays that Allah Azza wa Jalla forgives the sins for 2 years. This year, and then the coming year, Allah forgives your sins. Even before going into the next year, Allah has guaranteed you forgiveness of sins. If sincere, you fasted on that day for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allah Azza wa Jalla has accepted it. So you see, these days are days that Allah Azza wa Jalla. So never be found wanting. Never find yourself in these days always in the back row. Just as you and I are very, very keen and serious in the month of Ramadan, that is the kind of seriousness you should exhibit in these days. The seriousness you put in Ramadan. Don't tell me you are now busy. In Ramadan you are also busy. But in Ramadan you were able to make time for the Quran. In Ramadan you still attended school, but you make time for dhikr. In Ramadan you go to work, but you still find time for praying Qiyamul Layl, praying Tahajjud, praying Nawafil, giving out Sadaqah. In Ramadan, yes, it was sunny, you went up and down, but you managed to fast. In Ramadan, you still had the 24 hours you are having now. Ramadan is not 30 hours. Ramadan is not 30 hours. It's the same 24 hours, you only psyched yourself. You changed your thought process, telling yourself this month, this time is blessed. If I don't make good use of it, I'm never getting it back. And that niyyah, that intention changed your way of life, and you were able to make good use of Ramadan. These 10 days are not different. Psych yourself, change your mind, tune your mind to the ibadah season, and worship Allah Azza wa Jalla in these 10 days. For there are no days on the face of the earth in which good deeds are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than these 10 days. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to grant us goodness. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله تعالى لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Alhamdulillah wahda wa salatu wa salamu ala. This is the period we find ourselves in. It's a period of worship. It's a period of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a period to help you revive and recharge your iman. Because we live in a time that is filled with fantasies. A time filled with distractions. Everything around you looks to distract you and then take you away from the path of Allah. Almost everything around you. Especially the media. From the internet to anything that you know. Its main intention is to take you away from Allah. And the further it pushes you away from Allah, the more your iman diminishes. The more your iman decreases, the more the light of iman extinguishes in your heart and in your life. Just as whenever you find that your mobile phone, the battery has gone down, you do everything possible. Today, subhanAllah, the young man can even kill. He can kill just to get a place to charge his phone. Isn't it so? Yeah. The moment your mobile phone battery dies and it goes out, it is as though a person is dead. That is how you feel. You can forget about everything, but you can never forget about this fitna. The moment a person says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah from Salat, the first thing he picks is this thing. The moment a person wakes up from sleep, the first thing they touch is this. A person is seated in the washroom holding this. You find 8 people gathered, 8 people, brothers, family members, seated for 2 hours, and no one tells the other, how are you? How is your family? How are your kids? Everyone's eyes are fixed in this. Husband and wife seated, and everyone is glued to this. What kind of fitna is that? That you and I cannot have correct communication. We can't sit down and talk and converse. We are in the same place, but our minds and hearts are far away. And I'm here talking to someone in China, and you are here talking to someone in Singapore. Whilst we are in the same room, the same place. What kind of fitna is this? So there are distractions, things that pull your mind away from the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala does not want you to go far away from Him. So once in a while, He throws you a lifeline. Hey, this is an opportunity for you to remember Allah, so that you revive your iman and get back to me. Allah wants that. Do you think Allah Azza wa Jalla will want to punish you? مَا يَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ بِعَذَابِكُمْ إِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ وَآمَنْتُمْ. What would Allah gain if He punishes you? If he punishes you, what would He gain? Your 3-month-old child, they urinate and then they pee and then you slap the baby. What would you gain from slapping the child? What? But when the boy is probably 5 or 6, and then you just give them a little spank, the boy might, stop that thing they are doing, right? Because the person has reached the age you can correct them, and then spanking them would put them on track. But with Allah, you and I, with Allah, you and I have not reached the stage where we are worth something in the sight of Allah. So what does He gain from punishing us? So He gives you opportunities. He throws lifelines at you. Pick them up. These 10 days, fill them with dhikr. La ilaha illallah. Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. Wa la ilaha illallah. Allah Akbar. These days, fill them with the recitation of the Quran. Fill them with fasting. If you can fast the whole 9 days, fast. If you can't fast a couple of days, do not let it slip by. If you are so weak and you can't do anything, fast coming Friday, today's week. That is the 9th hour. Fast on that day. That is the minimum you can do. In these days, Qiyamul Layl. Sa'id ibn al-Jubayr is saying that in these days, do not switch your lights off. You know what that means? Even at night, stay awake. Just as in Ramadan, you stayed awake in Ramadan and you gathered a lot of blessings from Ramadan. These days are also not different. Gather as much blessings as you can. Fast in these days, give out sadaqah. Any act of worship you know of, perform them. For Allah loves them more than any act of worship performed in any other days. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to grant us the sincerity, to grant us the strength to spare our lives, so we are able to worship Him as Allah Azza wa Jalla deserves to be worshipped in these blessed days. And we ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to distance from us all forms of satanic influences that might pull back. A lot have requested dua. Allah Azza wa Jalla knows our intentions. Allah Azza wa Jalla knows our wishes and our desires. And Allah Azza wa Jalla is the only person. Allah is the only one who can take care of those needs. From amongst the needs, a brother is writing his examinations, and you know examinations is no easy deal. That's Allah Azza wa Jalla to grant him goodness and grant all of us goodness. For amongst us we have students, and I think that is the majority here are students. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to place goodness in our lives and then open our minds and then grant us a beneficial knowledge.
Amen.
For amongst us we have businessmen, those doing their own 1-2-1-2. Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. We pray that Allah Azza wa Jalla places barakah in their endeavors and then in their lives. For amongst us we have bachelors. That's Allah Azza wa Jalla to grant them righteous spouses. Both from amongst the bachelors and the spinsters, Allah Azza wa Jalla should grant them righteous spouses. We have the married ones. Allah Azza wa Jalla, we pray that you place barakah in their lives. From amongst the married ones, there are those Allah Azza wa Jalla has given kids. We pray Allah Azza wa Jalla blesses the kids and places goodness in their lives. And those who are still on track, Allah, we pray that you grant them kids that will be the goodness of their eyes. The struggling, the falling, and rising up, going in and coming out, it's all to attain the rahmah and the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jalla and gets Jannah. Ya Allah, we pray you grant us Jannah free of charge.
Ameen.
It's our sincere dua. The moment you see us on the day of Qiyamah, just turn a blind eye and tell us, walk into Jannah.
Ameen.
ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. يا عزيز يا غفار يا